Australian protectorate originally.
Oh, I hate when they do yeah, when they do it,
Maybe, oh, she did. That's right. She was making up on 9 years. That's
This is Robin, it's not going.
come up.
work 2 other jobs. I have 2 other jobs. I'm a tutor and a bakery. And I want to but it is my old passport. You come back. Oh, definitely. That's why I said scheduling children. Oh my God. Generally, I like when they drive. Very good. Just in case, you know. It's great. I walked out of the hospital having surgery, which they didn't even figure out what's wrong with me. And here is a box of cocaine. Have fun. It's like, I just realized like, here's a box of cocaine. Have fun. Okay. looks like I'm
You guys 2008? Yeah. I'm a lot older than you.
Maybe there's something to be said to that these things. Sorry.
My clothing order.
I'm gonna go grab a pen to do that. Come on, join. You're not feeling me well.
Yes, I know what I'm doing.
Excellent. Love to hear it. Thank you. Hey, we ready?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Zeke, and I am the chairperson. And Lily is the timekeeper. This debate will be judged by a panel of 3 adjudicators who are Miss Goldley, Mr. LeBrook, and Miss Carrison. The topic of this debate is that Warner Brothers should give up the DC Extended Universe. The affirmative team seated to my right is from Aberfoyle Park High. The negative team seated to my left is from Glenunga International High School. The speaking time for this debate is 4 minutes, with a double bell at the end of your speaking time. A warning bell will ring once at 3 minutes, and a continuous bell will ring 30 seconds after the final bell. Please switch off your mobile phones and other electronic devices. I declare this debate open. I call upon the first affirmative speaker, Jasmine.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for this debate is that the Warner Brothers should give up the DCEU. We, the affirmative team, define this topic as the Warner Brothers, an American entertainment and film studio, should give up for the Warner Brothers to discontinue and to avoid association with the DC Extended Universe, a media franchise centering the production of live-action television series and movies as a non-canonical counterpart of the DC Universe, beginning with Man of Steel in 2013. As the first affirmative speaker, I'll be talking about the inconsistent quality of performance in the films and how fans are growing disinterested in the repetition of the franchise. Our second speaker will be discussing the harsh competition posed by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as the financial viability of the DCEU. including assessing whether the financial risks are risks simply too great to pursue. Our third speaker will rebut and summarise our team case. For my first point, I'll be talking about the inconsistent quality of DCEU productions. There has been a serious lack of consideration towards how rapid progress has led to lost potential. Although the DCEU has had some success with movies such as Wonder Woman and Aquaman, many have drastically underperformed and consistency in quality is crucial for long-term success. Justice League, released in 2017, rushed its development so much that it didn't focus on drawing in its viewers, and according to the Looper, only had around a 39% on the review aggregator, with many fans saying the movie didn't seem like it fit together. 15 to 20% of the movie was also reshot, bringing in additional bad press and tonal whiplash. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice was also a disastrous mess. The DCEU quickly leapt into a team-up movie within its second production, according to Popverse. The result of this team-up movie was catastrophic, trashed by critics and earning a 27% review on the review aggregator. It was simply that DC rushed into its new universe and stuffed so much into a simple movie it was overwhelming. Brendan Morrow from The Week states, quote, "After a huge $166 million debut, the film collapsed in its second weekend." Leading me to my second point, that how the inconsistency in the franchise is resulting in fan fatigue. Fans seem disinterested in the continuation of certain films and not others, which is highly concerning. A study on Variety by Adam B. Very shows that DC fans are, quote, "more likely to consume film and TV about a specific superhero rather than the entire DC catalogue." It also states that majority of the DC fans care more about one or two characters rather than the entirety of the DCEU. And this is not surprising, as critic Corey Hutchinson states that the DCEU has no clear sense of how to build one of these franchises in a functional, let alone interesting way. Due to the love of specific characters, producers are focused on assembling films and TV shows surrounding these superheroes, but the overuse of these roles has led to the overexposure of iconic characters, diminishing the novelty and impact the characters have with continuous repetition. Fans are bored of the, quote, "repetitive films and origin stories of the same characters," says CBR News Stories. To conclude, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, why should something lacking clarity be continued only to make things more unclear? The mixed critique only contributes to the inconsistent perceptions of the franchise. Victoria Luxford says, "Just as filmmakers are essential to a movie's creation, so too are fans to its success. Disinterested fans consequently ensures an unsuccessful movie creation. And that is why the Warner Brothers should give up the DC Extended Universe." Thank you.
Call upon the first negative speaker, Nina Dry.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that Warner Brothers should give up on the DCEU. We, the negative team, firmly oppose this notion. We partially disagree with some of the key terms defined by the affirmative team, because some of their key terms didn't align with the context given within the topic. We define to give up as to discontinue or even sell. We also defined DCEU as an American media franchise based on a series of superheroes owned by Warner Brothers, which will be rebooted to the DCU after 2023, as stated by James Gunn, studio executive from Warner Brothers. Rebooted in this context meaning revive. The first speaker from the affirmative team has attempted to explain how the DCEU films are of bad quality. While quality in films is important, it's not just exclusive to the DCEU. Plus, giving up on it does not guarantee instant quality in other companies, it merely loses an amazing opportunity for growth and improvement within Warner Brothers, where it has masses of potential. As first speaker, I'll be discussing 2 points. How Warner Brothers has a financial incentive to continue DCEU, and how continuing it will allow for more opportunities within Warner Brothers. Our second speaker, Zazie, will discuss how the DCEU has a long-lasting legacy, and in Warner Brothers it has the opportunity to do great things. Our third speaker, Mia, will rebut and sum up our team's case. Now to my first and foremost point of the evening, that the DC Extended Universe has consistently demonstrated its potential to demonstrate substantial revenue for Warner Brothers. In the recent light of Warner Brothers' staggering $50 billion debt, as stated from CNBC, there's a pressing need to optimize the DCEU's potential. Can Warner Brothers afford to give up an asset that will bring in more revenue than if it was sold now? To truly showcase Warner Brothers' ability to improve movies with potential, let's look at their most recent hit, Barbie. According to Fox Business, this smash hit film raked in a huge $1.38 billion in the global box office. This achievement can easily be applied to the DCEU, proving its undeveloped potential. Warner Brothers should capitalize on its potential for redemption and exceptional resources to continue building a successful franchise. To do otherwise would be a bad decision that fails to maximize the potential of this extremely valuable asset. Now, moving on to my second point for this evening, that the reboot of the DC Extended Universe to just the DC Universe will ensure new opportunities for jobs, talents, and technology. Just recently, James Gunn, the famous filmmaker and director from Warner Brothers, revealed that the DCEU will be undergoing a reboot and will be renamed DCU. This expansion and reboot signifies more than just a fresh start for the franchise. According to the Motion Picture Association, the film and television industry supports 2.1 million jobs in the US alone. Warner Brothers is creating a platform that facilitates job opportunities, new talent, and integration of cutting-edge technology, all things which are important for the creation of groundbreaking films. Why would they want to give this up? By not giving up on the DCEU, Warner Brothers not only secures the future of a beloved film universe, but also contributes significantly to job creation, talent development, and technological advancement, ultimately benefiting both the industry and the audience. So, in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we, the negative team, affirm with our belief that the Warner Brothers should not give up the DCEU. Thank you for listening.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker tomorrow.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that Warner Brothers should give up the DC Extended Universe. And as the affirmative team, we firmly believe that this statement is true. The first negative speakers tried to tell you that the DCEU has a lot of potential. This is wrong because it makes a lot of mistakes in the past that could limit its progress. And even with potential growth being an option, who is to say that Warner Brothers are the best fit for that future? According to film and media researcher Mark Hughes, there is a prospect that selling the DCU to Netflix would be the best option for the extended universe's future. This means that new fans who love the DCU would be able to continue watching with improved quality and other characters and storylines to explore. Our first speaker has already told you about the DCU's lack of consistent success which leads to fan fatigue. Tonight I will discuss 2 points. My first point is that the DCEU isn't living up to the competition it faces from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The MCU, started by Marvel Studios in 2008, has faced remarkable success, with which Warner Bros. Intended to compete with its own extended universe featuring DC comic characters, presumably aiming to achieve similar results. However, they have proved unable to live up to the high standards of quality and fan engagement that the MCU has set. In the words of Ben Sherlock at Screen Rant, it's had some movies that build towards something that could be as fantastic and engaging as the MCU is, but it's made some major missteps. And these aren't just boring movies. They have mischaracterized DC's biggest characters and given us Easter eggs and sequel setups that went nowhere. An example is Justice League, released in 2017. Charles Pulliam-Moore, reporting for The Verge, explains how the haphazard attempt to catch up with the MCU was a far cry from the success Warner Bros. Needed and wanted it to be. He goes on to call the DCEU a mess, claiming they have no clear plans or objectives outside of trying to copy Marvel's incredible achievement. Rhys Taylor at CBR also analyses the DC's failure when it came to trying to catch up with the MCU, which in his words had years of established characters and stories to build on. Instead of taking time to build up their characters, the DCEU failed its audience with rushed and incoherent development. And of course, when one franchise attempts to compete with another and rush everything, they compromise having a stable foundation. Therefore, why the DCEU is so lacking in logical consistency. Warner Bros. Would be better off giving up the DCEU rather than trying to fight a slowly losing battle for fans' engagement and satisfaction. My second point is that the DC Extended Universe is not financially viable for Warner Bros. In the long run. Warner Bros. Is a business and needs its movies to be successful in order to make money, and the DCEU comes with financial risks. Not all of its movies have been equally profitable, and in the long run, it is unlikely to make enough money to justify the investment. Fan Jeff Ames at Coming Soon states, after breaking the unfortunate news that Batgirl, a $70 to $90 million production, was cancelled as a result of poor screening tests and presumably a product that wasn't up to par, it's clear that Warner Bros. Is struggling to unravel the tangled web of its disjointed superhero franchise. On the other hand, Warner Bros. Has produced some standalone movies that are not directly connected to the DCEU, including Joker and The Batman. Both were financially successful and have planned sequels, demonstrating that individual films with more unique and distinctive storytelling can do better. But in the words of Pulliam-Moore, rather than leaning into those objective wins, Warner Bros. Apparently plan to keep chasing after an MCU-shaped white whale. Warner Bros. Should reevaluate the profitability of the DCU and consider whether standalone films featuring DC characters could be a better financial strategy. So, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the lack of success and underwhelming financial performance of the DCU is clearly indicating an absence of fan demand and enjoyment. And to continue clinging on to this shallow enterprise will not benefit anyone. Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Zazie Newell.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, timekeeper, fellow debaters, and our fabulous audience. To reinstate, the topic of tonight's debate is that Warner Bros. Should give up the DCEU. We, the negative team, reject this notion. I will be discussing 2 crucial points this evening. Now to my rebuttal. The second speaker from the affirmative team has said that its mistakes limit its potential. This is false because Warner Bros. Can learn from their mistakes. This is seen with their decision to announce a reboot. The second speaker from the affirmative team has also said that has also compared DC to Marvel. It's unfair to compare Marvel to DC because of the difference in its fan base. DC aims for a more mature audience compared to Marvel, meaning that they are often more serious. DC and Marvel have completely different plots and characters and villains. Comparing them is like comparing apples and oranges. It's unclear and invalid. Now to my first and foremost point for this evening, that the DC Extended Universe boasts a remarkable legacy that could be jeopardized if Warner Brothers gives it up. The DCEU is undeniably one of the most successful movie franchises. The Morning Consult reports that 59% of all superhero fans are DCEU fans, and the DC Fandom Hall of Heroes was viewed by a staggering sum of 22 million people from all over, which almost amounts to the population of Australia. This reveals the monumental amount of DC fans. On a poll by Screen Rant asking what fans love about the DCEU, the results varied from the gritty realism included to how Warner Brothers has been making the movies in accommodation to the DCEU's loyal fan base. The article also compared DC to Marvel and discussed how the MCU movies are catered towards the mainstream media. It's important to consider how disappointed the fans will feel knowing that the franchise is being given up, especially when it's been around for 54 years and its narrative arc remains incomplete. Is it worth disrupting such a legacy that has been extraordinary and it's a universe that has always been? Now, to my second point for this evening, that Warner Brothers has several beneficial opportunities to optimize the DCEU's success. Firstly, the rise of streaming platforms presents a golden opportunity for diverse content and to broaden the audience. The DCEU's franchise is currently streaming on HBO Max, paying $10 million for a movie on its platform in a month. However, according to the New York Times, if the DCEU expanded their horizons to Netflix, they would receive over $100 to $500 million by developing content for these platforms. Warner Brothers can increase viewership and explore new storylines that characters might not fit into the traditional film format. Another opportunity for Warner Brothers is the DCEU, which creating more socially aware movies such as Barbie, a recent release Warner Brothers owns, and has already made $1.38 billion. This movie is a global hit, so why stop there? Because Warner wants to reboot the DCEU into the DCU, the DCU will have time to figure out what works best. Trying out a more socially conscious and diverse storytelling might just be what the DCEU needs. Moreover, expanding on the DCEU can unlock a new technique and innovative marketing opportunities, such as collaborations with comic book creators, video game developers, merchandise manufacturers, and theme park developers. These collaborations can help generate additional revenue and keep fans engaged with the wider DC universe beyond the films. So, to conclude, Mr. Chairman, Timekeeper, fellow debaters, and our fabulous audience, we, the negative team, firmly believe that Warner Brothers shouldn't give up the DCEU. Thank you for listening.
I call upon the third affirmative speaker, DJ.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for this debate is that Warner Brothers should give up the DC Extended Universe. We, the affirmative team, believe with certainty that this statement is true. The first speaker on the negative team stated that Warner Brothers can make a lot of money from continuing rather than selling to Netflix or any other industry that wants to buy it. Whilst they have had occasional success, they've also been super inconsistent, which in the long term doesn't lead to sustainable success. Many of their movies have not been received well by fans and recently have been going in a downward spiral. According to box office data, from the release of Birds of Prey to The Flash, there has been a negative profit margin in the DCEU. Warner Brothers makes more money from other DC movies, such as The Batman, with a box office of $771 million. One singular movie made by them made over 5.5 times the amount of the entirety of the DCEU franchise. Why should Warner Brothers waste their time making movies people don't necessarily enjoy and won't make as much money as their time is worth? They also made a comparison to the Barbie movie. However, the DCEU isn't comparable to the Barbie movie, as they have different origins and concepts, from the use of CGI to the fan base. It isn't simple just to compare one of their major hits to one of the series based off of comic books. The second speaker on the negative team stated that fans love the DCU. While some fans are dedicated, many others have expressed their disappointment in how they don't like the DCEU. According to Collider, the DCEU has reflected its lack of clear direction to its inconsistent tone and execution of multiple storylines. Fans have been upset about the reactionary editing and personnel changes. According to fan Jamie Ost, the DCEU universe has no consistency apart from its tendency to shoot itself in the foot. A poll made by the DC Cinematic Fanatic, 87% of fans are displeased with the DCEU, with many straight up hating it. There is no reason for Warner Brothers to continue with a franchise where old fans have a deep-seated hatred towards their new extension. Our first speaker, she spoke to you about the DCEU's quality and how it's generally inconsistent. She explained the rushed development and a lack of consideration taken after its short-lived success. She also mentioned how this inconsistency has led to fan fatigue, with fans purely being invested in specific characters and not the universe as a whole, defeating the purpose of creating a universe with many superheroes when interest is further shown in solo films. Our second speaker explained how the DCEU's attempt to replicate the MCU style wasn't successful, with mischaracterized popular characters and rushed and incoherent development without a stable foundation. She also said that the DCEU wouldn't be financially viable for the Warner Brothers. This is a key aspect in keeping any movie series. She spoke about how non-DCEU films were more successful, with many non-profitable and even cancelled movies resulting from the DCEU. She spoke about how there would be a better route for Warner Brothers to either continue with their DC franchise or expand on other movies. So, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the Affirmative team strongly believe that with messy and rushed films and non-profitable movies, Warner Brothers shouldn't continue to associate with the DCEU and follow alternate routes instead. As said by John Wooden, failure to change is fatal. Thank you.
I call upon the third negative speaker, Mia Smarsky.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that Warner Brothers should give up the DCEU. We, the negative team, undoubtedly oppose this notion. Before I summarise our team points, I would like to rebut the opposing team's statements. The first speaker from the affirmative team has said that the DCEU lacks quality and therefore should be given up. However, giving it up would be sacrificing the already established fan base and rich legacy. Plus, Warner Brothers has already introduced the reboot, changing it to DCU, and they have already made so many plans, which would send the franchise in the right direction, proving that giving it up really does nothing to benefit anybody. The first affirmative speaker has also tried to tell you that the inconsistency of films lead to fan fatigue, and so does the repetition of characters. Although this is true, as our team has stated countless times, the reboot will ensure consistency in storyline, rendering the first speaker's statement a non-issue. The first speaker from the affirmative team has made the point that fans dislike it. This is a bold statement, only seeing the fandom in black and white. In reality, this is not black and white and people don't despise or hate it. Furthermore, you can't argue with the cold hard fact of profit. People may dislike the franchise, but that doesn't mean they're going to watch it and support it in the cinema. The fact is, no publicity is bad publicity. Even if people are saying negative things about it, it's still good publicity for the brand and is putting money in Warner Brothers' pockets. The second speaker from the affirmative team has said that DCEU is not making as much money as it should. What business in this current economic climate can say that they are making the amount of money that they want to make? Given that the world has just been through a pandemic where people haven't even been allowed to go to cinemas and are having to work from home, it seems fair that Warner Brothers has not been making as much money. This doesn't take away the huge amount of potential that the DCEU has, as stated clearly by our first speaker. The second affirmative speaker has also said that Warner is not the best company for the DCEU. However, the Atlantic News states that Warner Brothers has the resources to become the best film company in the world. Wouldn't everyone want the beloved DCEU to be the best film company in the world? The third speaker has mentioned that in the long term it won't lead to sustainable success. This is completely invalid. As our first speaker already stated, the reboot has shown much potential to make money already, with hits like Aquaman, Batman being a complete box office success. Our first speaker, Nina, talked about the immense potential of the DC Extended Universe and how the DCEU has consistently generated revenue for Warner Brothers. She finished her first point by saying that giving up the DCEU would be detrimental to Warner Brothers' success. Can Warner Brothers really afford to give up such a valuable asset, bringing in more long-term revenue than if it was sold now? Her second point was that the upcoming reboot of the DC Extended Universe to the DCU will provide countless new job opportunities both behind and in front of the camera. How can we justify giving up the DCEU when the upcoming reboot stands to provide countless new job opportunities in the film industry? Our second speaker, Zazie, discussed the extensive, long-lasting legacy of the DCEU, as well as the fan base comprised of millions of people worldwide. She finished by stating how giving up the DCEU would undermine the legacy and the impact it has already created in the world of superhero cinema. Given the DCEU's vast potential and dedicated fan base, isn't it clear that Warner Brothers should hold on to this valuable asset? Her following point stated how the reboot would provide opportunities for expanding into streaming services. This would be done through the countless beneficial opportunities to produce diverse and relevant content and to broaden the audience that would be provided by not giving up the DCEU. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely clear that Warner Brothers should not give up the DCEU. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
The adjudicators will now finalise the result.
Yeah, that's what Roman was saying, like the floor echoes the ceiling. Something's going on. I know it. Well, the Christmas is seen from the stage is like, it's also like, designed and just something postmodern.
I now invite the adjudicator, Miss Golding, to come forward.
Hi everyone and welcome to semi-finals. First off, I would like to issue a massive congratulations to both of these teams for making it this far. You're all incredibly strong debaters. It was a really interesting debate and it was such a privilege for us to get to adjudicate it. So a massive congratulations. Every single one of you deserves to be here and thank you for giving your all tonight. So just to let you know how tonight's going to run, we won't be giving any individual feedback. We will just announce who won the debate, whether the decision was split or unanimous, and our speaker of the night. So I'll start with our speaker of the night. This is someone who we felt had a really strong ideas, they presented them really well, and they had really clear reasoning and logic throughout their points, and that's Tamara from the Affirmative. Now, it was a really tough decision, but ultimately the decision tonight was unanimous. We just felt the Affirmative team overall had a lot more perspectives considered, their ideas were stronger, and their case development as a whole was stronger, and that is the Affirmative team tonight. Thank you all so much for your attendance. I will hand you back to your chairperson to close out the debate.
I call upon a member of the runner-up team to give a vote of thanks.
On behalf of the negative team, I would like to thank everyone who came to this debate, especially our coach, as well as the timekeeper and adjudicator and the opposing team. You did a great job and good luck for the time.
I call upon a member of the winning team to second that vote of thanks.
On behalf of the Affirmative team, I would like to thank the chairperson for structuring this debate, the timekeeper for timing us, the opposing team for structuring this debate, and the audience for supporting us this evening, and the adjudicators for
attendance. I now declare this debate closed.
Third coffee. Back on it. Huh? I have to write a 1,000 word essay when I get to church, so. Oh, damn it, my English degree is less than having a law degree. How terrible. I can't believe I'm going to get my English degree and I said less bad.
Start seeing things that obviously we're penalising things like stress. And the very thorough. Just tickled because we had that's considered quite a big mistake. The definition is changed. We don't say it like that. But and then Nika has this really good. She missed out on the opportunity of the legacy. They should have brought it in Sunday. I think I will get their future.
Yep, I've had it last year. I had it last year and I haven't this year. Yep.
Make sure that they write down verbatim what the that they then add a few, they don't just have the prepared replies, but they actually have, this is what they said, have we got a prepared reply that matches that sign?
Yes.
But if not, what will I say? I have to say something, especially the first week,
Yes.
for everything.
Yep.
But see, they've been great, I was probably so pickier. The first week I had a lovely voice, but try and time it so you use up the whole full.
Yeah, we've done, she was getting 3 minutes 45 when we were practicing.
Oh, sped up or something today. So make sure you've got a little bit more, she's going to be like that. And the other times were good. She was definitely the speaker, the most animated, as I said, very engaging speaker.
She's always
excellent.
Do you reckon, would you put it
And I don't suppose they're people, so they're only picking up on
where do you reckon place it for the grand final? Where do you reckon place it for the grand final? Do you reckon
No, I think, if you're going to do it, you don't know if you're going to be, wait and see. You've got to be heard. Yes. If